Scholars Unbound is a bi-monthly podcast or video series that showcases the voices of scholars who know no boundaries when it comes to the pursuit of knowledge. You will hear insights from their experiences as international scholars and how these influence their research, hoping to inspire future scholars to be fearless, global, and unbound. I'm your host, Dalia Simangan. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Scholars Unbound podcast. In the previous episodes, we talk about book proposals, the book writing process itself, writing book chapters, writing sole authored books, and the difference of that with edited volumes. Now we are continuing this discussion with a very special guest who will talk about a unique approach to working on a book publication. Our guest today, Professor Yuji Uesugi, published a book with his graduate students, and he will share with us the process, the motivation, the challenges, and opportunities for this book project. Professor Uesugi, who is a professor of conflict resolution at the Faculty of International Research and Education of the School of International Liberal Studies of Waseda University in Tokyo, Japan, is joining us today. I met Uesugi Sensei for the first time back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, when I was a postdoctoral fellow at the United Nations University. And since then, we have collaborated in a couple of publication projects. And for an early career researcher like me back then, it was really encouraging to work with supportive researchers like him. That's why I'm very excited that he accepted my invitation. I'm really thankful for his time today. Professor Uesugi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Daria, for inviting me and having me.
I mentioned that you are a professor of conflict resolution, and we're also working on research related to peace building right now. But could you summarize for our listeners your research area or your research interests?
In terms of the academic field, conflict resolution is my area, and the specific topic that I have been currently following is UN peace operation is one, and another is post-conflict peace building activities. And I have been interested in the interaction between the civilians and the military component in the peace operation. Also, the international intervention and the local probably context and local actors interaction in peace building setting. These two are my primary research interest.
And that is also one reason why we got to collaborate on these projects, because I'm also interested in international peace building and local involvement and local context. So Uesugi Sensei, last year in 2021, you co-edited a volume titled Operationalisation of Hybrid Peacebuilding in Asia, From Theory to Practice, published by Palgrave. I'm also grateful that you invited me to be part of this project. But how did this idea of writing a book that involves your students come about?
Okay, initially I have published a book called Hybrid Peacebuilding in Asia, together with colleagues who are interested in peace building, and particularly in the context of Asia. And we come up with the discussion of international intervention and local involvement and interacting these two main actors and how this interaction would have an impact on the actual achievement of the peace building. And in my class, in which I offered for postgraduate student, and the topic is conflict resolution and peace building, I gave a student an assignment to offer a book review. And all student has come up with a very good critique of the book. And I was so impressed by the quality of the critique provided by the student. And since they were so, in a way, positively and constructively critical, I kind of asked them, are you interested in writing a follow-up of this book? Some students said yes, enthusiastically, but others said no, I would be quite busy finishing my master's thesis and so on and so forth. So I have asked those who are interested in joining me to write a new book, like second version or version 2 of this. And I luckily have a great number of students who showed interest. That's the kind of a beginning of this book project. And actually during the course, we discussed, and after the course, we continued to discuss. And it took, I think, several, in fact, probably almost 1 year to entirely complete this book project. So initially, I have asked students to write up their responsible or interest topic, which could be a good follow-up of the original one. And then I submitted a proposal to a publisher, the Palgrave, and they have particular editors who are interested in peace building topic, and I sent a proposal. However, the publisher said, oh, these authors, co-authors are all MA student or postgraduate student, and probably they're quite hesitate to publish a book only written by student. And they come up with a suggestion that try to find a mentor who could co-author with this student. And these co-author should be established professional. So I have to use my network to ask established scholars to work with my student and to complete each chapter. And Dalia is kind enough to accept my request and to become one of the co-authors. But I was able to attract as many as probably six or five external professionals who were willing to work with the student. And with this, I think the quality-wise improved, as well as because of these well-established scholars joining in, the leadership or publicity of the book has also, I think, increased.
Uesugi sensei, we are quite used to working or co-authoring with other researchers, or as you've mentioned, some researchers who already have established careers, and it's actually a unique experience, at least personally speaking. Co-authoring either a book chapter or a journal article with a student. I'm wondering what was the experience like for you. You're one of the editors of the volume, and at the same time, you are the professor of the students, and you are writing chapters with them. How did you balance that role among your students?
I think I still presented myself as a professor, but at the same time, I also try my best to treat the student as a fellow colleague. Particularly in this project, they are independent authors, and I encourage them to be professional. Sometimes students are quite busy with their own studies, and the submission of the draft quite delayed, or some students do not reply to my emails. So these things happened, but I try my best to treat them as a professional so that they will also respond as a professional, not as a student. But at the same time, because they are students, I try also my best to give advice where to look for additional sources. And also, as an editor, I read all of the manuscript and gave quite detailed critiques as well as feedback, so that the student authors can collaborate with their mentor authors and to improve the manuscript. The person who are quite instrumental in this book project is Anna Dekaling. She actually co-authored the book with Dalia, and she was quite good at putting us on time in terms of the scheduling of the project. Although she did not move to PhD program, and she's now working in the fashion industry, so totally different area. But I think her ability to organize and time manage has helped. So I would like to give her an credit.
Thank you, Uesugi Sensei. And you've mentioned also earlier that some of the students didn't want to be part of the project because they're completing their master's program. But for those who, who are still on the fence, whether they want to be part of this kind of project or they really want to be a part of this project, what's your advice to students who plan to author a book or a book chapter during their graduate studies?
This is my personal experience, but having your own publication, but not just in academic journal, but as a kind of academic book like these, will serve as a kind of a business card. Like when you meet a new people, when you go to academic conference, you do exchange business card before the COVID. But I think this is a great way to actually introduce yourself. I've written a book chapter in this, and you can give the book as a gift. And this kind of practice is very common in Japan. We usually circulate our own book when we meet. And then, so that's probably a very useful first step for you to get involved. And for me, if when I first published my own book, it opened up my horizon. My academic career became quite brighter. Before that, I wasn't sure how to get a position. But now I have a academic book, and this is proven to be a kind of evidence that you are good academic. And so I really encourage, even though maybe you have to work on your master's, but if you have a chance to publish a book or a book chapter, I think that will be a great experience. And it's like, although I'm not a female, but it's like giving a birth. So it is like a part of you. And I was so happy to see my first publication actually out. And then I saw the book and I handed and hold the book for the first time. It was a great experience as an academic. And that kind of a motivation or feeling, I think, pushes you to work hard and be professional in this area. So in short, I really would like those students who are not probably going to a PhD or becoming a scholar, but still doing a business and other areas. But I would think working as a group and completing a book together is a wonderful experience.
Thank you so much for sharing with us the process of working with your students toward a book publication. And this is a really good example of how established researchers can reach out to students or early career scholars and work on something. And I hope that this is a process or a practice that other academics out there can emulate. Thank you so much, Uesugi Sensei, for showing us the different components and steps in this rewarding work of publishing a book with your students. Thank you for listening to this episode. Please consider leaving a comment or rating at iTunes or any of your preferred podcast hosting platforms. For details about upcoming episodes and how to support the Scholars Unbound project, visit daliasimangan.com/scholars unbound with the link in our show notes.